of the church. If it had not been for the word that I heard, I'd be lost forever. But God saved me right there in the church.
Hi, I'm Dana.
I'm Liston.
And this is Only for the church. Man, listen, it's good to be back again. Last time we had a conversation, we were talking about Christian nationalism, racism, the church, and we were talking about DEI. And we left off talking about some of the things that the church, as leaders of the church, that we need to be consciously involved in, because some of the decisions that are being made in our government today will have direct and indirect impact upon the people that we lead in worship and in church. Mm-hmm. And in particular, we left off talking about the efforts of Dr. Jamal Bryant, whom both of us know very well, and his efforts in leading what some would call a boycott, and he's called it a fast. He and other leaders involved in that process. Well, a lot of people don't understand why there is a lot of backlash coming from Black leaders in the church concerning DEI. But man, I looked up a little information on Target, Walmart, Amazon, mm-hmm. and McDonald's, and why this is problematic to Black folks. So I just want to read it because Target was once a prominent. It was a prominent advocate for DEI, mm-hmm. Diversity, equity, inclusion. Now, Target has recently ended its commitment to increasing its Black workforce by 20% and has disbanded its executive racial equity committee. The rollback has sparked consumer backlash, including now the 40-day boycott organized by faith leaders and civil rights advocates who argue that abandoning DEI initiatives undermines progress towards racial equality. Now, the 2025 40-day Target fast ends on April the 17th, 2025. Participants are asked to pause shopping at Target and sell their Target stock. Participants are encouraged to redirect their spending towards Black-owned businesses. The movement aims to mobilize 100,000 participants. After the fast, organizers will collect data on the impact and meet with Target's board to assess whether to move into phase 2. Now, what's your thoughts about that?
I think that it's an ingenious idea. I think that money is the ultimate determining factor of change. Mm-hmm. If we can cripple that business economically, they would at least come back to the table wanting to have a conversation. And I think this is not something new. I think we saw Martin Luther King Jr., he did it, and he brought
Rosa
Parks. I mean, they brought systems to their knees. But I don't know if this is going to be enough. I don't know if we're going to really galvanize enough Black people that will be on the same page to do it. I applaud the efforts. But I think it goes back again to something that we talked about the last time we were together. You know, I think this is just, again, to me, a byproduct of what God is allowing to happen in this time for us. He's trying to get everybody's attention, Black people included.
And I think,
in my opinion,
no, and I think that's real important, Paige, because Target and other businesses, they want the 1.8 plus trillion dollars of Black money and economics, but then they want to ignore Black people. And I think that if Target's going to bag up on where it was and reduce its hiring of African Americans, then African Americans should bag up and reduce its spending at Target.
Correct.
And so the bus boycott of Rosa Parks was impactful because the busing industry lost all of that money. And Blacks had to become uncomfortable. They shared rides, took taxis, walked. And so in order to be heard and in order to get fair treatment,
money,
we have to let them feel us economically. And I think what's key, though, is the breaking of routines and the owning and embracing of discomfort for the bigger picture. So that means you might be accustomed to shopping Target every day. Now you got to do something else. You may be accustomed to doing Target online. You got to do something. So we have to have alternatives. And so one of the things that I thought was excellent was to try to direct, during these 40 days, your business to Black businesses, because Black businesses are going to suffer because of some of the things that are happening. I want to read another. Here's a list of what Walmart has scaled back its DEI efforts in response to the administrative directives of the Trump administration. The company has faced criticism for reversing policies designed to promote workforce diversity and support for Black employees. These changes align with broader trends among corporations retreating from DEI commitments under political and legal pressure. So Walmart is bagging up too. And you know, Black folk love Walmart. And Walmart hires a lot of Black people, but they are bagging up. So what's your thoughts on that? So we're starting with Target, but as I'm reading and sharing now, Target is not the only one.
I think what we're seeing is the real heart of these corporations and these companies. I think it's a systemic issue. I don't think racism has ever left. I think it has been disguised through some of these programs. And I think now that they're not going to be held, or their feet are going to be held to the fire, I think they're going to really start showing us what they really feel. I think they have made statements like they have hired, because of the DEI program, unqualified people just out of diversity, just out of making a certain quota. But now they're going to look for more qualified candidates. These are the excuses that now they're coming up with. Mm-hmm. I think that if it's Walmart, if it's Target, whatever corporation is not going to recognize us as a viable candidate for employment, and they don't want to hire us, they don't want to pay us, I don't think we should take our money there.
Yeah, I agree. So listen about Amazon. Amazon has also adjusted its DEI strategies, reportedly removing references to DEI, Black individuals, and LGBTQ plus communities from its internal materials. Now, this move reflects a cautious approach amid the administration's scrutiny of diversity programs, leading to concerns about the company's dedication to fostering an inclusive environment for Black employees and other marginalized groups. Now, you know, this is a big one because Amazon is the big papa in the retail.
Well, Amazon is building, buying up warehouses, property all over the country, probably the world.
The world. Mm-hmm.
And they were doing a lot of hiring of Black and brown bodies. So this is very concerning, very, very concerning. Amazon online, Amazon delivering, Amazon has its tentacles in everything now.
Yeah.
So for Amazon now to adopt these new concepts and practices, that's going to keep a lot of Black people out of work.
Yeah, and see, and this is why I want us to share a little bit here because we need to discuss this. And so McDonald's.
Oh, no.
So McDonald's has curtailed its DEI initiative, scaling back programs intended to enhance diversity within its workforce and franchise operations. This decision has drawn criticism from civil rights organizations and consumers who view the rollback as a step backwards in achieving racial equity in corporate America.
You know, I would like to do the research. I think McDonald's was one of the first restaurant chains that gave opportunities to African Americans to buy into franchises. So this is kind of surprising to me that they're taking this particular stance. And it's very problematic. When you think about McDonald's restaurants, where they at? Mm-hmm. They're in our inner cities. Mm-hmm. You know, they're very accessible to us, our people. Now, we're not going to talk about it being the best food. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the opportunity to have ownership, to provide food for your families, because you have income, you have a job, you have a skill. McDonald's even had at one time, I'm sure they have it, a program where you could become a manager and a supervisor. They sent you to school, training in California. This is very disconcerting to me.
Yeah, so Paige, there's no way we could be responsible Black leaders
and not address it.
You know, so beyond the rollback of DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, the current administration has implemented several policies affecting Blacks across various sectors: education, criminal justice reform, immigration policies, civil rights enforcement, and police accountability. So this rollback and this policy,
it's going to affect us in many areas.
Is going to affect us and the people that we serve and lead and worship. Now, I wanted to answer the question of who DEI impacts, because a lot of people don't know what diversity, equity, and inclusion impacts. So it impacts employees in the workplace, fair hiring practices, equity pay, and inclusive work environments. Then it impacts students in education. Historically underrepresented students having access to scholarships, mentorship, and resources. Inclusion curriculums help all students gain a broader understanding of diverse culture and history. Businesses and organizations and consumers and clients. Now, Paige, one of my degrees was at the Fuqua School of Business at Duke University. So I got a global executive MBA. Now, when I graduated, I had classmates graduating with me who had put their resumes out. They were getting $500,000 signing bonuses. They were getting a house to relocate them and $500,000 signing bonus. Now, Duke at that point, it was the fourth ranked MBA school in the world. I think now it's 5. But you can't just apply to get in Duke. You got to apply you have to apply, and then they'll let you know if you can apply. And then those that they allow to apply, they only accept like 32% of those applicants. Okay, so I was allowed to apply, and I got accepted. I was the first clergy to ever be accepted in the Fuqua School of Business, the GEMA Global Executive MBA program. Now, I said that to say they were getting $500,000 signing bonuses and so forth because they were connected to, Duke was connected to major Fortune 500 businesses and so forth. And they were hiring. They were hiring. So
that was a pipeline.
That was a pipeline.
Duke was the pipeline to get into these Fortune 500 companies.
So with DEI modifications now, historically black colleges and universities can now be discriminated and cut loose out of pipelines, which means now, because of DEI, a lot of companies
don't have to hire.
They used to have to, but now they don't
have to hire black and brown bodies.
So then that means then we're going to be impacted. Our HBCUs is going to be impacted because our bright talent is not going to have
an
opportunity. And so this has major concerns. Now, it has major concerns that it is what it is, but we have to also start building more dynamic, more diversified, and more revenue generating businesses, black and brown businesses. And we've got to start catering to that $1.8 trillion plus.
Can we look at it from another perspective? I mean, we know the negatives of DEI, but you just said something. You have $1 trillion circulating.
1.8 trillion.
$1.8 trillion circulating within our community, okay, amongst black and brown bodies. Wouldn't you think this would be an opportunity for us to come together?
Disruption is always an opportunity.
You know, why can't we, instead of being so concerned as it being a negative, why can't we see this as an opportunity for us to advance and to move forward?
Disruption is always an opportunity, and this is a major disruption. This is a major disruption in free enterprise. This is a major disruption, and I think disruption creates opportunities. I remember Bishop Jakes wrote a book on disruption, and because disruption creates opportunity. And so I was thinking about, this is a time for us to create a national black business network, BNBN, Black National Business Network, starting on the local level, moving to the state level, to the national level, where we start working on scaling up our businesses. This is a great opportunity.
It's a great opportunity.
And we can't sit around and cry about what has been done.
Man, it's tremendous.
We've got to strategize.
$1.8 trillion.
Yeah.
We just have to get the right people in the right room, around the right table, having the right conversations, and saying, how can we start implementing a program where this money that we generate is benefiting all of the businesses. Now, but here's one of the challenges. Our Black business have to start operating on a level of excellence.
No, and that's what I'm talking about, a BNBN.
That's
where we've got to help them scale up. And then we have to understand that that's not the only challenge, because whenever you plan and strategize to do something as Black people, and if it starts to work, it's economically bad for the other side. It's just like the Marcus Garvey movement. You know, Marcus Garvey had pulled it together, and then once he got all of the Black professionals and so forth, and getting ready to send them to Liberia and so forth, they were sent back, and he was put away for a little while for trumped up tax evasion and so forth. So we know that there's going to be some opposition to this, but I do believe we have to. I asked the question, who does DEI impact though the most? And this is what I got: Black and other racially, ethnic, marginalized groups. Women, especially women of color, particularly Black and Latino. And then people with disabilities, low income and socioeconomically disadvantaged individuals, veterans and other
underrepresented groups,
and older Americans. Now, and LGBTQ individuals. So I asked the question. So I was thinking, I was like, okay, we see the problem we're in. We see they dismantled DEI. And I was trying to do an analysis. And I said, so, okay, when did DEI start helping us? When did it form? And diversity, equity, and inclusion, it as a formalized concept, it evolved over decades. But its roots can be traced to various social movements and legal frameworks. So, you know, civil rights era,
affirmative action,
inclusion, and corporate DEI programs, and many attribute that to the Obama administration. And so it's been around a little bit, but its impact is really felt on Black employees. They often face glass ceilings in career advancement, and without DEI,
they can't.
It's going to get worse.
Yeah, they can't crack the glass ceiling.
Pay equity. It's no one to monitor that anymore. So Black employment is historically twice as unemployment is historically twice as high as white employment. And so a gap that DEI policies help to narrow. Now that's taken away. Workforce bias and systematic racism have historically led to Black workers being overrepresented in low-wage jobs and underrepresented in high-paying. And so DEI efforts support job training, internships, upscaling programs in industries like STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, finance, and healthcare. access to high growth career, reduce the likelihood of job instability and long-term employment. Now, you take all of those efforts have been very successful in helping to improve and increase Black progression, but they never got us to a point of equality and equity. But now the deal is, so with it, what's going to happen now? So with DEI, now you're going to have a return, and it's going to impact Black and African American poverty by hiring biases returning now. It's going to widen the wage gaps. It's going to lessen career advancement opportunities. It's going to be loss of supplier diversity programs, less access to business funding, which is already a problem. Fewer Black-owned businesses mean less wealth circulation in Black communities, fewer scholarships and internship opportunities, elimination of affirmative action, more employment discrimination for formerly incarcerated. Housing discrimination may increase. Without these programs, Black families may struggle to break the cycle of generational poverty. Black families already own about 10% of the wealth of white families. Without D&I policies promoting equal pay, home ownership, and business investments, the gap is likely to widen. Yeah. So, man, what do we do, especially when we look at what this is going to do with to the Black economic situation? We mentioned that we're about $1.8 trillion in Black spending, and we've got to address this. It can't just be emotional reaction and anger. We have to galvanize our Black leaders, not just in the religious space, Black leaders across all walks of life. We have to come together and put aside whatever our differences may be. We got to put those aside for the betterment of us collectively. But Day, I can't get away from it. This is, to me, a part of us getting back to really trusting and depending on God. We have to trust God. We have to push our people into that space where lean not to your own understanding, but in all of your ways acknowledge God. He's going to direct your path. I think some of these things that we're seeing happening, I think it's going to give people an appetite back for some level of spirituality. And I think when they start coming in our space, we're going to have a balanced message that addresses these concerns, but also wraps them back around the heart of God. Yeah, and I think Romanization, Europeanization, colonization, Westernization, Americanization of the gospel remove from us a biblical, holistic model of being a faith community. Looking at the Jewish faith community, the Jewish father had to be responsible for teaching his son or his children Torah. He had to teach them how to swim, and he had to give them a trade. So he had to teach them survival skills. Yeah, and he had to teach them economics and religion. And I think what has happened, we had that model at one point in time in the Black church. Yeah. And we were focusing on evangelism and economics.
The church was in the center of the community.
Yeah.
When we started moving out of the community, out into the suburbs, outside of the inner city, the hood. There was no one there that would bring that wholesome presentation that you got to get your mind right. You got to get your spirit right. You got to be a responsible human being. You got to get education. You got to get a job. Yeah. The church was designed to do all of that.
So I think we were so busy assimilating because we never integrated into those communities. And the white community, they always have had that model themselves. And so, the white dollar circulates in their communities multiple times. Just
not
4 hours.
Not hours.
Yeah, 4 hours. In ours, it's gone out. And so I think that we have to rethink what it means to be a faith community, and not just look at being a faith community as directing simply the moral compass of our people to create good American citizenship. I think kingdom citizenship involves more than just the moral compass. I believe it involves also learning how to progress and be successful in the marketplace too. And so as a church ministry, we've got to change our attitudes towards economics and entrepreneurship. Now, as a pastor, my educational pilgrimage has taken me on uncommon roads that pastors normally take, which involved a master's in counseling and guidance, a master's in economic development and entrepreneurship, and then a master's, a MBA, a global executive MBA, and an MDiv. And then a PhD in organizational leadership, doctorate of ministry and church growth, and then Christian psychology. So I've approached ministry from a much broader perspective and lens. And I think that right now we're going to have to create some more Rosewood models of church. The Black Wall Street. We're going to have to create our own financial institutions. Banking. We're going to have to create more than just restaurant businesses. We're going to have to develop tech businesses, manufacturing businesses.
Trucking businesses.
Yeah, we're going to have, a broad range of businesses. We're going to have to work on creating a Black economy, especially since they are forcing us in a very political way out of the white economy. And we're going to have to learn how to spend our money with our people, and that's and for our own survival. And so we've got to have some real deep conversations, because a lot of us have been taught that once we start having this conversation, we're not spiritual anymore. That's why a lot of people want to know, why in the world, Dr. Carson, are you going to go to Duke to get an MBA and you're a scholar, you're a biblical scholar? Well, because there were some things that I needed to sharpen.
And you wanted to run, you're running a business.
I'm running a business.
Church is just not an institution that does not have the underpinnings of business. We run it like a corporate business.
It is.
Employees, taxes, employee taxes, expectation of employees. You're not volunteering, though we do have volunteers that help us with the ministry. But when you run this like a corporate setting, people are paid. They must be on time. Excellence. The facility must be clean. I mean, there's a bevy of things that go into owning and operating a business. And you don't get that all out of the Bible. You have to go to those extra writings. I think they would be called extra canonical normative interpreter arbiters. That's what they basically call. You don't find it here, but you find it external oral principles that you find that you can line up. Mm-hmm. You know, your Duke MBA, there's things that you learned there that you found some scripture to parallel, juxtapose it. Mm-hmm. We got to do that. $1.8 trillion, Dana, 1.8 trillion just amongst African American people. We should have, oh my God, we should be running the country with our, I mean, talking about money. I don't see why we're not in a better financial position as a people, but I do understand why.
Yeah.
It's the black crab syndrome.
Yeah.
We keep pulling each other down. We don't lift each other up.
But we were groomed that way, Paige.
We're programmed.
Yeah, we were groomed and programmed. Yeah. But now we have a new generation of young people coming up, and we can
change that paradigm.
Yeah, we can help to influence them to think different, to think like free people, not like slaves, and to think more, and I don't mean it in a negative sense, to think more like colonizers
than slaves.
And then pioneer new frontiers for our people, and it's not negative. You know, we've been so programmed when we say for our people, that sounds negative to people. But if the Indians were to say that, it doesn't sound negative. Even if the Latinos were to say that, it doesn't sound negative.
But
if the Asians were to say that, it doesn't. But when black people say it becomes an affront to white people because
they don't want us to be unified.
Yeah. We're a threat, and they don't want us to have access to wealth that grows black wealth. They want us
comfortable.
They what they call the programs when they what they call this thing when they not incentives, but when they gave you the money, it gave you
welfare.
The check. No, they gave you the checks. I think they did it in the Obama era. When they gave you the checks, everybody got those checks. What do you call that dang thing, man?
I knew you talking about.
But oh man,
I knew you talking about. It was right there until you said something.
Yeah, and
it's right there. Oh man, I know you're talking about. Stimulus package.
The stimulus checks, and right now, black athletes and entertainers are nothing more than sophisticated stimulus packages. They pay them money that they know they're going to take that money and spend it right back in the economy to stimulate the economy. And rather than stimulate and sustain black wealth, we're not growing black wealth. So all the money we're getting, they're giving us, our low self-esteem and our self-hatred is causing us to put it all right back and stimulate the white economy.
That's right.
And so they don't want us like the Civil War. You know, they don't want the aristocratic wealth to be tampered with or gone after. And so they keep the poor whites and the poor blacks fighting and arguing against each other while the Elon Musk and of the world
rich.
And you know, so but they've trained our people not to listen to black leadership, and unfortunately they put an extra strain and stress on black men all the way from slavery to incarceration. So you have the missing black man, and you have the struggling black man who has been discriminated against and not given the same opportunities of white men. And so white men are looked at as heroes and black men are looked at as villains and no good. And so now, at a time when our people need black male leadership,
can't find them.
It's very difficult to find them.
Find them.
And if you do find
they're
them,
selling out.
But if you do find them, the people are skeptical of them. And so, because they've been taught to trust white leadership. But I do believe that these times are the times that are necessary to push us where God wants us to be. And I believe that there's a remnant.
Oh, yeah.
And that God has a ram in the bush. I believe that we came to America for a reason, Paige. I don't think we're here accidentally. I think it was the sovereign move of God that brought black people here from Africa. And I believe that we've been brought here for such a time as this. And I believe black people are going to be the catalyst for revival in this country. And I believe that at some point, this country will ultimately fail and fall because it is not mentioned as an eschatological consideration.
That's right.
And so, man, we got to do a lot of praying
and trusting God.
Praying and trusting God, and we got to do some networking.
Yeah.
We got to do some kingdom and marketplace networking. And that's why, I appreciate what Bishop Jakes is doing with Good Soil, with this Good Soil movement. He's bringing together black businesses. He's bringing back black financial intelligence. He's black intergenerational wealth building. He's doing a program that's reaching. I don't know if we've ever had that many black business people reach this in one setting, especially through the church. So he's doing a great job of getting that done, but it's going to take more than Bishop Jakes. It's going to take more collaboration, and we all got to get together and bring some pieces to the table. And we've got to stabilize ourselves, because we can't be looking for underdog to come or Popeye to come, or Superman and Batman and the Green Hornet. We can't look for people to come and fight these battles for us of justice. We got to rise up and fight them ourselves. And that's why we tip our hat to what Jamal is doing. And that's just the beginning. And we've got to get into some innovation, creation, and pioneering of our own industries and empire economically. Well, listen, man, I know our time is about up. Man, we can just talk all day, and I know we're going to continue this talk. You got anything closing you got, man?
No, man, I think this has been enlightening. I think people will walk away from this program tonight, this moment, understanding that we do have a responsibility in a civic sense, but we also have a responsibility in a spiritual sense as well. And we got to find a way to cohesively bring those things together, because I don't think these are dark times. I think these are times of opportunity where God can bless us if we can just come together.
Yeah. We are best when we're in trouble. When God allows us to get in the corner, that's when Dana becomes his best.
Yeah.
So, well, listen, man, it's great. I hope everybody's been blessed today by this. I'm Dana.
I'm Liston.
And this is Only for the Church.
If it had not been for the